According to the World Health Organization, there are over 50 million people, survivors, living with cancer worldwide. And this is a statistic from 2020. So this is what I'm quoting with you. So if you've been told that you can't get rid of your cancer or the cancer, and that there's nothing really that you can do, that this is pretty much as good as it gets, this is going to be a class that's going to give you lots of hope. Also in this article, I want to add that it states that the people with that are long-term thrivers that still have cancer, they thrive by adopting holistic approaches, lifestyle changes, and integrative treatments. Who knew, right? Well, we do in the classroom. And what I'm excited mostly about is that we have Dr. Henning Saupe. He is a doctor in Germany. He is the owner and the founder of Arcadia Clinic. And I'll give you, if you are a subscriber, you already have all his information. He's been practicing what we would call oncology for, I think, over 30 years, but I will let him tell you all about it, because today he's going to share how to not just survive, but thrive, even with cancer and a cancer diagnosis.
And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
Hi, my name is Lily McDermott, and I am a certified life coach. I am a certified holistic cancer coach and the host of the Lillian McDermott radio show Classroom. If this is your first time in the classroom, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening as well as my viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Well, as I said, today we have Dr. Henning Saupe that I absolutely adore. If I would be able to go to Germany, I would want to see his clinic. As a matter of fact, maybe I'll make that a goal for this year or next year to go visit the clinic. But what I love about it is that he takes an integrative approach to healing the body. And by the way, I haven't even said this yet. Holistic Cancer Medicine is the title of his book. And today, we're going to be giving one book away. So all you have to do is email me at lily@whenyouneedafriend.com or text me at 407-373-5959 to get your name in the winner's basket. A week from today, we are going to be pulling one name, and I will let you know if you win this book. But this is a practical guide. This is a guide that I want all of you, if you don't win the book, to get the book. You can get it on Amazon. Again, if you are a subscriber, you already have where you can get this book. And in the United States or in Europe, in the world, there are different places where you can get it depending on where you live. But I am really excited that Dr. Henning Saupe is here, because it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge. And I'm grateful that, like I said, Dr. Henning Saupe is here to do just that. Welcome, Dr. Saupe, to the classroom.
Thank you very much, Lily. It's a great pleasure to meeting you again here, and thank you for having me on your show.
Well, it is my pleasure, because of all the places, locations that I've investigated as far as price-wise, the balance that you bring into the treatment of the body that has cancer, been diagnosed with cancer, I believe that you have a more synergistic approach. You work with in all different angles. But share a little bit about your background. And, if somebody has been given a cancer diagnosis and they're at the end of their treatment, they're told there's nothing else we can do. What are some of the things that we can look at to not just survive, but thrive? So I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Yeah, thank you, Lily. That's a big question. And you asked me to tell the audience a little bit about what I've done in my life. Well, you already mentioned I'm a medical doctor. I have focused on oncology now for 33 years. to be accurate. That's when I got my medical license, my MD. I studied in Germany in a place called Ulm, the University of Ulm, and was from the beginning of my medical studies interested in the phenomenon of life. What is life about? What does a living organism need to stay healthy? And what are the parts and pieces that bring life together and manifest life? So my basic medical study at a regular German university gave me a lot of details, a lot of tools and knowledge about anatomy and biology and pharmacology, etc. But it never really answered the question what life is about, what sustains health and vitality. So I had to go outside the academic world and do classes and workshops and seminars in institutes for holistic medicine and homeopathy and naturopathic medicine, because the way medical students are trained in Western world universities, and that's the same if you study medicine in Miami or in New York or in Berlin or in Heidelberg or wherever in London, the kind of medicine that young students learn and that it dominates in Western world countries and in the hospitals is what I call a reductionistic approach to the treatment of a disease. And cancer is a wonderful example for a very complex disease that we cannot get under control by only applying mechanistic reductionistic strategies. What is a mechanistic strategy? That is a therapy that aims at blocking what we don't want. Regular Western world medicine is the art of blocking the symptoms that we don't want. With a beta blocker, we block the pulse rate and the blood pressure. With a statin, we block the production of cholesterol. With a painkiller, we block the pain signal, etc., etc. So, and that is reductionistic because it does not go to the root cause of the disease. What went wrong in the first place so an organism allows cancer cells to grow? That is a question that is very little addressed in Western world reductionistic medicine, and that is the biggest difference compared with a complementary holistic medicine that wants to go into the depths of the root causes and not only block what we don't want, but to support what we actually want, and that is health and vitality. There is a name for that in the modern academic world. It's called salutogenesis, the field of salutogenesis. A New York-based professor in internal medicine, Aaron Aronofsky, coined that term in the 70s and 80s of the last century, and it means the signs of health, what keeps a healthy organism alive. Salus is health in Latin, and genesis is how it is made, how it starts. Yeah. So salutogenesis, what supports life? What can we do to support life? And with this introduction, I would like to go right into the center of your question. What can an individual do that has heard from an experienced doctor, maybe an oncologist, that sorry, we cannot cure you. What are his or her options? And that is the content of what I'm going to tell the audience in the next half hour. Because the approach that has become the one and only in Western world hospital is to poison the cancer cells with chemotherapy, to block certain hormones that support cancer growth, like estrogen in breast cancer or testosterone in prostate cancer, or to cut out as much of the tumor as the surgeon can get hold of, or to burn it with a beam of X-rays. So all these therapies that I acknowledge and that I incorporate in our multifaceted holistic therapy approach aim at blocking what we don't want. And there is a time for that, and it's absolutely legitimate. And I'm not in opposition to this approach, but I know there is so much more that we can do, and that is to take care of the whole individual that is around the tumor. The patient that comes through my door is not only a lump of cancer cells. It's a human being with a spirit and a soul and an emotional life and appetite and willpower and everything. And the strange phenomenon, the worrisome phenomenon, is that this organism allows some cancer cells to grow. So Western world medicine is good at blocking as long as that is possible. And to drop a few worrisome numbers, we still are far away from the cure of metastasized cancer, despite all the billions and trillions that have been invested. Richard Nixon started the war on cancer cancer in 1972, or I guess it was, and said in a few years, now we have conquered the moon. We were on the moon. Our astronauts have conquered the moon. In a few years, we will have conquered cancer. He couldn't be more wrong with his statement than what he said in front of the American public and the world, because since those words were told to the public, cancer numbers have many-fold doubled, and cancer has become the #1 concern in Western world populations. In Canada, a very modern country that obviously is effective in treating heart and vessel diseases, cancer has become the #1 reason for death. And the United States and other developed countries like Germany are not far away from Canada, where cancer and cardiovascular diseases are about on the same level, but cancer will take over. The prognosis is that in 15 years, at around the year 2040, every second adult will be affected with a cancerous disease in her lifetime, and that's something we have to change. And that is one more reason why we have this program today and why I wrote the book and want to reach out not only to cancer thrivers and people who are affected with cancer, but to all of you who want to make everything possible to not get the disease. So the book is also a self-empowerment book with loads of healthy ideas and strategies how to avoid to get cancer. So the cancer thriver, you mentioned that beautiful word, is something that I highly cherish. I want my patients who live in a stage 3 or 4 of the disease, I will explain what that means. I want them to reprogram their mind from identifying with somebody that is incurable, that's the negative, pessimistic version, to look at the reality, to somebody who becomes or is on the way to become a cancer thriver, somebody who lives a good and happy and hopefully long life with a disease that we have difficulties to completely eliminate. But hey, that's the case for many diseases. There are many diseases that we hold at bay with good therapy, but have difficulties to completely cure. For instance, rheumatism, for instance, autoimmune diseases like multiple sclerosis or other thyroid autoimmune diseases or colitis, an autoimmune inflammation of the guts. So there are many, many diseases where we can't say we can cure you, but we can tell the patient there is hope, there are good strategies to live in a good and happy and hopefully long life with the disease. And that makes a huge difference in your life, in your mind, in your quality of life, whether you identify as an incurable candidate, with whatever that implies. Incurable, you already see your funeral coming and you plan what flowers you want to have on your coffin, and all these inner movies that are switched on when you hear the word incurable. Don't do that. Don't go down that road, because that stimulates your brain to not protect your body and to not send the chemicals to your immune system that fight for your life and support your life. Find that switch in your mind and say, from now on, I'm a cancer thriver. I can do it. I can live with this disease and keep it at bay with therapies and some changes in my lifestyle. And that is what my book is about. And that is what I want to explain more in the next 20, 30 minutes. But the first message is, find that switch in your mind from a negative interpretation of reality to a true but positive, optimistic relationship to your situation, because that makes a huge difference in how your brain cooperates with your immune system. We call it, by the way, neuroimmunology. It's an academic discipline that is fully accepted in modern science-based medicine, that has studied the interaction between our brain and our immune system. So neuroimmunology or psychoneuroimmunology. I know you had Bruce Lipton on your show not so long time ago. He's the grandmaster of psychoimmunology, and teaches us how intimate the connection is between our thoughts, beliefs, and our immune system. So please find that switch and become a cancer thriver if your situation is such that you have heard that your disease is not curable. And by the way, how many patients have to have to endure such an information or digest it, more than half of all patients in oncology are told that they're not curable. So you're not alone. It's a disease of our time. The lifetime risk today is at 40%. I already told you in 2040, if we don't change the trend, we'll have a lifetime risk of 50% of getting the disease. About 50% of all patients who get the diagnosis are from day one in a stage where Western world medicine can't give you the cure. So I want you to change your mind and understand that the fact that you can't be cured, quote unquote, does not mean that you have to die tomorrow. It just means you have to take responsibility for a change in your life, in your biology, in your organism, and change the conditions in your body so you can get the disease under control and make it a lifelong activity zone, a challenge that reminds you to live a healthy lifestyle.
Well, it's interesting because prior to going on the air, you and I were having a conversation about the importance of our mindset. And as you quoted Bruce Lipton being in the classroom back in 2014, that is 2013 when I first interviewed him. That was the first time I interviewed him. I tell him he changed my life because I didn't realize I had an option to change my mind and my mindset. And that set off, and he always tells me, he goes, I didn't do anything, you did it. And so I want to empower everybody to don't believe what we say, just do it. Just try it and see how it works. But prior to us going on the air and starting recording this class today, we were talking about how he says 95%, only 5% is due to our DNA. So that means 95% of illness is not associated with a DNA. It is our lifestyle. It's the way we think. It's the way we act. It's the way we eat. It's all these other things. But you and I have agreed on this, that 5% is what we focus on. We don't focus on the 95%. Even at the beginning, at the intro, when I said in that statistic, it said that people that actually adopted a holistic approach, lifestyle changes, and integrative treatments, those are the people that have been able to thrive the longest because they realize, modern medicine is not going to do it. And one of the things that you said to me is that we've got to go beyond what medicine can do. What are some of these stress factors in our lives that are keeping our body, like if our mind is the control center of the trillions of cells in our body, this is our command center that is dictating how every cell is going to respond. So when you're saying you got to switch that, instead of saying I'm going to die from cancer, I am thriving with cancer, that switch in mindset alone is crucial. But how? What are the steps that you work with your patients at your clinic at Arcadia, who, by the way, is in Germany? And I just want to remind you once again, we are giving away one of Dr. Saupe's book. It's called Holistic Cancer Medicine. It's Integrative Strategies for a New Approach to Health and Healing. And I'm telling you, we just did the event together at Annie Appleseed. I got a signed copy, but everybody there, it's like it was very hard to keep these books on the table because everybody wanted it. So let's talk about that shift in mindset. What are some of the things? Because we can do a lot of integrative stuff on our body, but if our mindset isn't clear, that what we want is to focus on thriving with cancer or without cancer, just thriving. What are some of these steps that you were to give a how-to step for today?
Well, if we stay in the realm of mental patterns, beliefs, and the interaction between the brain, our psyche, and the body, I want to mention as the first strategy is to find your inner conflicts, find out what stresses you. experts in social science are telling us that mankind was never as stressed as today, despite all the beautiful things we made the last 100 years. We have a very comfortable life. We don't need to chop the wood any longer to have a warm home. We don't need to carry the water from a well into our house. We have faucets, and so life has become comfortable, but at the same time complex, and the stress level, despite all these inventions that we take advantage of, the stress level is as high as never before. So to make a long story short, there's an entire chapter in my book about that, is somehow we live a life that has disconnected us from our sources, from our from the place we live at, from the closeness to nature, from the integration with our family, from identifying with our profession in a way that makes us proud. We have been disconnected, many of us at least, from a natural relationship to the spiritual and to God. So all these factors are mentioned in descriptions of what the last 100 years have changed in our behavior and our life. And the summary of that is, I quote a professor in social science in my book that summarizes that. The statement is that we need to work on our inner balance and connectedness with our true nature, and get out of this stress zone where we constantly look for something that we don't have, and we believe if we have that, then life is complete, and then we will relax. But when we are there, we want to have the bigger house and the bigger car and everything, and the materialism that surrounds us and pushes us into this acceleration of activities, and we lost the thread to our true nature in our life. So the one answer I give my patients and in form of manuals and lectures is I talk a lot about mindfulness. The mindset called mindfulness, coined by a professor from Massachusetts University, Jon Kabat-Zinn, who is the author of many books in that field, mindfulness-based stress reduction. That is what we teach here at our clinic, and patients take that home and continue to study and practice the basic exercises from mindfulness thinking. I don't believe that we have the time to go into the details, but please look up Jon Kabat-Zinn. Full Catastrophe Living is his best-selling book, and the technique called mindfulness. So, and I want to continue on that topic that we touched already, that cancer thriver, how comes that we cannot cure that disease? And let us go back into the history of cancer and the biology of cancer, and let us acknowledge that we all live with cancer from the beginning of our creation, because it is stitched in our genes. Our genes carry the information of how a cancer cell behaves. We call that proto-oncogenes. That is the equipment of every cell in our body. It knows how to switch on the activity and the behavior of a cancer cell. So another fact, the older we get, the more cancer cells we incorporate in our body without being called the cancer patients. We just accumulate cells that run in this impaired biological program that we call cancer. They don't listen to stop signals from the surrounding. They multiply uncontrolled. They don't have a natural biography that ends with a natural cell death called apoptosis. So these cells accumulate in an aging individual. And if you look a little more deeply into the organs of an 85, 90-year-old individual, you will find cancer in the prostate, in the colon, in the guts, in the breast gland, with 100% risk of finding it. So every aged individual has cancer. Every young individual has a pre-form of cancer in so-called oncoprotogenes, gene SNPs that code for cancer and wait for the day they are activated. So we need to understand what activates the gene information that we all carry from the beginning of conception, and that puts the whole story into a new frame and into a new light.
Yeah.
I tend to say we all have cancer already. Some have a little more, some have, fortunately enough, not so much cancer, so we don't call it a disease. But if we dig deep enough with laboratory tests and modern chemical analyses, we would find cancer in almost everybody. So it's a continuum, and what we call the disease is from the day on we find a lump, not only a few cells, but many millions or billion cells that form a lump. And of course, from that day on, we call it a disease. We have reasons to call it a disease because it's life-threatening and it causes symptoms. But we must not forget that a healthy organism is not an organism that is completely free from cancer, but more an organism that can control its cancer cells.
I like that. And I want to add to that. When you're talking about people that get that cancer diagnosis, and I've known many, they identify with my cancer and they call it my cancer. And as a coach, I always tell them, no, call it the cancer, because once you own something, you want to keep it. And it's not mine to keep. So that's one of the mindsets that I try to transfer on to the people that are my clients. But also, I know of so many cases of people that have lived a very productive life, and all of a sudden they get the cancer diagnosis. They're told, oh, you've got 3 weeks to live, and 3 weeks to the day they go. What is it about the mindset? And I call it contracts with the white coat. The white coat trance is what I call it. And it's a contract that says I need to hear and obey that in 3 weeks I'm going to be gone, as opposed to, okay, this is my time to live my life, because they had the cancer all along. So why would they buy into, why would we buy into, not they, we buy into what an oncologist would say when it comes to, well, you just have 3 weeks to live? First of all, I would fire that doctor.
Yes, please. Yeah, well, that is because we're not told the entire story. We're not told what I just told the audience, that we all have cancer on a low level that our body can control, and that's what we call health. Health is not the complete absence of cancer cells. Neither is health the complete absence of viruses or bacteria. We're full of viruses and bacteria, and as long as we as long as we feel well and we are in control of the viruses and bacteria that our body hosts. So the same applies more or less to cancer. And the reductionistic approach that lives and dominates in Western world hospitals and oncology departments makes a mistake. It looks at the story as if it was a black and white story, but it's not black and white. There are all shades of gray on both ends. So before the disease becomes manifest and diagnosed, there are smaller amounts that grow, smaller amount of cancer cells that grow step by step, and the immune system fails more and more to keeping them at bay. And then the day comes where a lump shows up, gives symptoms, and the diagnosis is given. And of course, then we have to work on many sides with surgery, sometimes with chemotherapy, to get the tumor into remission, to shrink it. But then, and that's the next pitfall of reductionistic mainstream medicine, nobody cares for the patient's recovery after surgery or chemotherapy. The patient is dismissed, and if patients ask their oncologist, is there anything I can do? Believe it or not, what I keep on hearing from my dear patients for decades, and there is no change in that trend since what I can see, is no, go home, we have taken care of everything, just live your normal life, eat as you did before,
and you take a
and
donut
come
on
back.
your way
If it
out.
comes back, then we give you more chemotherapy.
Yeah, and then take a soda and a donut on your way out of the clinic because you're cancer free. And that is the mindset, that I can do whatever I want. The reality is we can't do whatever we want, whether we have disease or we don't have disease. There's a way that we can love our body, and a way that we can destroy. Like I learned many years ago that the fork can be a tool of mass destruction, or a tool to heal every cell of our body. It all depends on what we're using that fork for and our food for. But food is not the end all be all.
No.
And so that's what we learned here in the classroom. And I just want to encourage you to all understand that what Dr. Sapa is saying today is that we've just got to just change our mindset and stop focusing on the cancer, but what caused it. I had a conversation not too long ago with a client that that conversation caused a blow up because they were doing everything perfectly. But the question I asked is, if you're doing everything perfectly, why is the cancer, why did it come back? Why did it come back? And that's not to find blame, shame, fault. That is just to do an investigation, just like an MD, a medical detective. You need to be your own medical detective and figure out. And that's what we do here in the classroom. So I want to encourage all of you to go to whenyounneedafriend.com. While you're there, please subscribe, like, and follow me on all social media. Share this video with your friends. I could probably guarantee that 100% of all of us who are watching today know someone with cancer or someone who's worried they'll get cancer, because I will tell you, what you focus on, you will achieve. So I want to focus on thriving and living a life that is loving to your body. So share this video, make comments. If you have any questions, write these questions down. And I have an agreement with Dr. Saupe that if you would like to have a consult with Dr. Saupe, that you just email me and I'll get you 45 minutes as opposed to the 30 minutes that other people get when you call Arcadia. And so just you can either email me, let me know that you would like a consult, a 45-minute consult with Dr. Saupe, or you can text me and I will make it work with him and his secretary and whoever it is I need to contact. We're also giving a book from Dr. Saupe. It's Holistic Cancer Medicine. I just want you guys to understand that there are other ways. Even with chemotherapy, there's other ways to administer the chemo. We just don't know what we don't know. So go to whenyouneedafriend.com and you can find ways to contact me there. Also, if you are a subscriber, you already have Dr. Saupe's information for the clinic and the book and how to get the book. But one of you, a week from today, is going to get a copy of this book, or the name will be drawn from the winner's basket. Also, I want to encourage you to go to my Shop Now bag. My Shop Now bag has all Lilly approved products from head to toe, whether it's makeup or pain management. You're all taken care of. These are products that I absolutely love. And also, we have some events coming up. We have talk about changing the mindset. We have the Rewiring the Brain 2.0, Rewiring the Brain with Neurofeedback 2.0 with Dr. John Silva. That's going to be April 29th. If you purchase your ticket or your seat before, it's a worldwide webinar. If you purchase your ticket before April 19th, you get $20 off. You know I love a good deal. So check out that workshop that we have, a webinar that we have coming up soon. We also mark your calendars for November 1st. We have the I Am the Solution Natural Health Summit for cancer and autoimmune disease. And so I want to encourage you all to do whatever it takes to live the life of your dreams. And one of the last things you can do is you can become an enrolled student in the classroom, whether it's $1 or $1,000 a month, a one-time donation of your time, your talent, your treasure, anything that you can help with will help us grow immensely. As you know, the cost since the pandemic, since 2019, it's become more and more costly to do the classroom. So if you can help in any way, we would appreciate it. And we thank you for it. And today we are so grateful for Dr. Saupe for being in the classroom. He could be anywhere right now. He could be taking a nap for all I know. But he is here today to share his wisdom with you. And you can find him at Arcadia dash praxis .de, and that is in the blog. If you are a subscriber, you already have all his information. And so once again, Dr. Saupe, I'm so grateful that you are letting our smart viewers and followers of the classroom to get a copy of your book. So one of you is going to win, and so I am so grateful to you for donating these books for the people in the classroom.
My pleasure.
Yes, yes. And so before we talked about the mindset and how important the mindset is. I'm sure that you have a history with it's 33 years of practicing medicine and focusing on a holistic, integrative approach. Because I know we've done a class that we talked about insulin potentiation therapy, which includes chemotherapy there. There's other things that people can do. But let's talk about the mindset, which we agree is not very sexy, but I think it's the sexiest part of health. It is to know that I can turn things around just with the way I'm thinking, because first it's a thought, then it's a feeling, then it's an action. That thought is crucial. So can you share of any stories? Can you come up with any of the people that were told, okay, go home, live a good life? There's nothing else you can do, that they've turned things around.
Well, it happens. And I'm not only seeing patients who come in a desperate situation where the oncologist says there is nothing else to do than to accept best supportive care. I see patients who are at the stage of metastasized disease. We call the stage with one organ affected with metastases a stage 3. And when more than one organ is affected with metastases with small nodules and daughter tumors of the original tumor, we call that a stage 4. So the majority of our patients are in stage 3 and 4, and thanks God, not everybody has reached the stage of final disease. That was what you said, when nothing else is doable. But my clinical practice is full of patients who have become cancer thrivers and have proven their doctors wrong with the prognoses they got more or less slammed into their face, something I never do, because I tell my patients, you have to accept your diagnosis, but please do not accept your prognosis, because prognosis is based on statistics, and you are not a statistic cloud, you are an individual. Nobody knows what you're capable of doing. So let's hope for the best. Let's hope that you can get this disease under control, and let's start that project, your healing story, your healing journey. You are an individual and you are unique. So nobody can tell you how long you can live with this disease. So some examples from my life as a medical doctor. There was this lady from Stockholm that I met 25 years ago. She came into my office with lymph node metastasized breast cancer after surgery, after chemotherapy, and so she did not want to go back to chemotherapy and do another round, because obviously it did not help her too much. It did not prevent the spreading to the local lymph nodes. And that was 25 years ago. I've followed her life ever since. She is more than active. She has turned her life around and became a cancer coach. She's active in Stockholm and sees patients and tells them what to do to get their life back. And that's what she did. If I would have looked at her prognosis 25 years ago, lymph node metastasized breast cancer after chemotherapy, after surgery, her prognosis would not have been that good. We would have probably talked about 3 to 5 years medium survival time. And that is now more than 25 years, and she's a thriver. And there are still some enlarged lymph nodes somewhere in her thorax, but obviously they're not moving. She is stable. She lives a normal, healthy life and has found ways to get that under control. She has been here at our clinic a few times, and I can say a few times, not too many times in those 25 years, to keep her disease at bay. And that is spot on the topic that we discussed today, right? If a doctor says you're not cured, your disease is not curable, is that the end of your life? No. There is an alternative way to look at the disease and your life with the goal of making it a manageable disease that you can live a long and happy life with. This example of Anne that I just gave you, tells that this is doable. And there are more patients than she that have accomplished that. There is another patient who also came from Sweden some years ago. It's now 5.5 years ago, and that's closer to what you asked me, Lily, a patient who was told there is not so much more to do. She came with the third reoccurrence of ovarian cancer, stage 4, very, very intensively pretreated with a heroic surgical operation that took 9 hours, and
Wow.
a team of surgeons were busy to get as much of her tumor out of her body as possible. Ovarian cancer is a tricky one because it goes in between the guts and adheres to the peritoneum. That's the inner lining of the abdominal wall. It goes in all the gaps of the abdomen. It's difficult to get out all of the cells, but they did a heroic job and treated her massively with surgery. Unfortunately, she had a reoccurrence in the abdominal cavity. She got chemotherapy. The symptoms went down again. She got a second reoccurrence, and at that day she said, "I cannot do chemotherapy any longer. It would kill me. I hardly survived it last time." So that's when she came to our clinic, and it's now more than 5 years ago. We started with our holistic program that is much more than what we talked so far about mindset and spirituality. So we treated her intensively with anti-cancer drugs, but to summarize what kind of anti-cancer drugs we use less toxic anti-cancer drugs and make them stronger with 2 add-on therapy modalities that give a good synergy effect. So we use, for instance, natural anti-cancer molecules from plants like curcumin from turmeric, or artesunate from Chinese wormwood, or mistletoe extract, or DCA, a chlorine salt, or a sulfuric molecule called MSM, or methylene blue, or resveratrol from grapes. We have a list with about 15 different natural anti-cancer drugs. And if you take them in an oral form, they're not very, very strong. You can always expect something from a capsule with turmeric extract, but please don't accept don't expect that a substantial reaction happens if you have a lump of a size of many inches. That it's just too weak. But if you inject a dosage that is equivalent to 100 or 200 or 300 capsules, a number that you literally cannot ingest. You cannot swallow 300 capsules, and if you
Not
would
without
do it,
serious consequences.
but the chemical equivalent of it in an infusion, you can expect quite a reaction from a sufficient high dose of turmeric extract, of curcumin, or mistletoe extract, or resveratrol, or green tea extract. So those are our most favorite anti-cancer drugs that come with very little or close to zero toxicity. Turmeric, artesunate, mistletoe extract is not toxic. But we have to help these plant-based extracts with other modalities to go up to the next level of efficacy. And the 2 strategies that we use parallel to injecting these plant extracts is hyperthermia. We warm the body up with infrared waves or with radio waves in a harmless way that does not do any harm to the healthy part of the body. But if you overheat a tumorous tissue, you make it more receptible for the treatment with drugs, and you raise the perfusion, the blood flow into that part of your body, and that makes the infusion stronger and gives you a synergy effect parallel to the injection or infusion. We also do something that is called insulin potentiation low-dose chemotherapy. Wow, that was a long word. Once again, insulin potentiation low-dose chemotherapy that was invented in the 1940s in Mexico by a military surgeon with the name Dr. Garcia Perez. Dr. Donato Garcia Perez in the 40s was the inventor of insulin potentiation low-dose chemotherapy. And it builds on the principle that cancer cells love sugar. Cancer cells have a metabolic impairment that makes them very, very greedy to live on sugar, and they have many receptors for sugar and channels for sugar in their membrane. And that's exactly what we take advantage of in that therapy approach, we lower blood sugar with a little bit of insulin that we inject into the patient's bloodstream. We monitor the patient very, very carefully, because if you inject insulin in the patient's bloodstream directly, you get a fast drop of the blood sugar, and you need to know how to do that in a safe way, the exact dose and exact monitoring. And that's what I've learned from the grandson of Dr. Donato Perez in a training seminar some years ago. And I got a certificate from the grandson of the inventor, who, by the way, runs a hospital in Tijuana, Mexico, and is the president of the International IPT Society, Dr. Donato Perez III. He has the same name as his grandfather. And we use also synthetic classic chemotherapy, the same drugs that are used in classic oncology, but because of that metabolic trick, we can reduce the dose to only 20%. So instead of 100%, we give 20% under very low blood sugar conditions, and that makes a huge difference. It reduces the toxicity to almost zero, and it raises the efficacy manifold by applying the drug in a low blood sugar environment that causes the cancer cell to open their mouth. In a quote unquote, they don't have a mouth, but they have channels for drugs and sugar. And so we lower blood sugar, we cause them to open their channels, and then we deliver the drug in a situation where their channels are wide open for the drug, and then we inject a little bit of sugar to close the gap again. So that's, in very few words, the principle of insulin potentiation, low-dose chemotherapy. And we do that based on an individual blood test. So our patients are checked with a chemosensitivity test based on their circulating tumor cells. We send a blood specimen, about 40 milliliters, to a laboratory that is very close to our clinic in the
And
vicinity.
that's key. I understand that
And that is key. Thank you
right
for
there.
Yes. If you do that, please choose a laboratory that is close to your doctor, because if you have to send your blood to a faraway country, and if the shipping takes more than 30 hours, maybe 40 hours at the absolute maximum, then I cannot rely on the test result, because the cells change their behavior, and many cells will die on the way to the laboratory if the laboratory is far away from you where the blood was taken in the first place. So we are privileged. We have a high-class, top-notch laboratory in Düsseldorf called Next Gen Oncology, and we have a courier service that brings the blood specimen door to door within 4 hours. So that's a very safe time frame. The cells are at that laboratory same day as we take them from the patient, and 6 days later we get a result that has checked the sensitivity of the drugs on the cells that the laboratory finds in this patient's blood sample. And that's the best way to predict what drug is the best for this individual case. So one size fits all is not satisfactory. We do individual testing. Instead of doing the experiment inside our dear patients, we do the experiment in a safe way at a laboratory, and then we use the laboratory test result to choose out the best drugs for our
I
individual.
wish there was a lab that does this in the United States. I have not heard of one. I always hear of the ones that it takes 2-3 days for the blood work to get there, and there have been many
up to a week, sometimes more than a week, not only 2 or 3 days.
There have been misdiagnoses because of it. And so what I'm thinking you're talking about is pharmacogenomics, which is something that they have here in the United States. They have labs here in the United States, but how will your body respond to a particular chemotherapy is crucial, because I think sometimes the treatment is what kills the patient, not the cancer. And I'm saying that very carefully, because I know that there's a lot of people that get angry with me. I'm the messenger, and I am not the one who said it at first. But here's the thing with the insulin potentiation therapy, which most people don't know about. Are there cancers that benefit, that you can eliminate with the targeted insulin potentiation therapy, where there's cancers that don't even bother with it? Is there all cancers work with insulin potentiation therapy?
That's a very difficult question, Lily. There is no answer for that question in general. That's why we do the individual testing. We have to find out how sensitive are our Peter's cells, how sensitive are Mary's cells, and their sensitivity might be completely different with the same disease called colon cancer, but Mary has already gone through 5 cycles of chemotherapy, and her cells are highly mutated and less sensitive to many drugs, whereas Peter's cells are still naive and they were not treated with chemotherapy and they're much more sensitive.
Okay,
so
fair.
There is no one rule that fits for everybody. We need to do the individual assessment. Every patient is different, and we need to check every patient with a range of laboratory tests to find out which drugs offer the biggest chance for this particular patient.
Well, you know, I want to remind all of you again that we're giving away Dr. Saupe's book. It's called Holistic Cancer Medicine. You can either email me or text me at 407-373-5959 or lily@whenyouneedafriend.com. Let me know that you would like a copy of Dr. Saupe's book. Or let me know if you would like a consult, a 45-minute consult that I can arrange for you with Dr. Saupe. It is amazing to me. And, you know, we only have about 5 minutes left. This is like the fastest.
I need to tell you that the end of the story with the lady with the ovarian.
Yes, go ahead. Because I want to get an idea of what people get when they come to Arcadia. So go ahead and share your story.
So she got the whole program that you can read about on our website or in my book, or if you call me and we have a consultation, I give you an overview of the therapy. So it's infusion, hyperthermia, mental training coaching, massage therapies, energy therapy with meridian tapping and meridian acupuncture. So it's a holistic approach with more than 20 different modalities. So what happened with that lady is that she, within a few months, went into complete remission and celebrates in these days the end of the 5th year of no evidence of disease. So she has not only been a thriver with cancer, she has been in no evidence of disease now for 5 years in a row. And her story is published in a Swedish lifestyle magazine with the name Nära. That means nourishment in English. You can read her story. I translated it from Swedish, the original language that it was published into English. If you go on my Facebook site, look for my name. There is only one Henning Saupe on Facebook as far as I know. And go to last year's comments, and there you will find Carola's story published in a Swedish lifestyle magazine called Nära. A fabulous story, and the last word I heard from her was 3 days ago that her last scan was again no evidence of disease.
Awesome.
And back to our spiritual inclination, what happened in her life, and I'm allowed to say that because she
shared her story, yeah.
She worked as a secretary in a regular company, but was never happy with her profession, and the disease raised her courage to express herself in a way that she never dared to do before. So she changed her profession and works today as a spiritual healer and cancer coach. And that is exactly what she's in resonance with and what she loves doing. And I'm sure that was a very important component for this wonderful story, being 5 years in no evidence of disease from stage 4, heavily pretreated, 3rd time recurrent ovarian cancer.
Amazing. Yay. Okay, so we only have a few minutes left in the classroom. I just want people to understand that when people go to a clinic that is for cancer treatments, sometimes they're paying, and then there's like all these different options that you can pay for individually, and before you look at it, it's just way out of control. At Arcadia Clinic, what I love about what you guys are doing, Dr. Saupe, is that everything is inclusive. You're not giving people an option of having to pay more. You tell them this is what it's going to cost. You get fed, you get all your treatments, your
all
therapies.
The tests, all the blood work, all the individual testing, all the coaching, everything. And we send patients home with a home care program with oral drugs and remedies and repurposed anti-cancer drugs. And we We offer follow-ups based on video consultations, so we don't send patients back with no help. No, we do the opposite. We stay in close contact with the patients who have been
What
here.
is the average stay at Arcadia Clinic?
3 weeks is what the average patient invests in time and money, sometimes 4.
Amazing, amazing. And sometimes when you hear people get a cancer diagnosis, they tell me, I've got 54 weeks of chemotherapy. It's almost like the doctors have this crystal ball, and the only answer, maybe it's an 8 ball. The only answer is, everybody gets the same therapy. Everyone gets the same treatment. And as far as I know, I'm different than you. You're different than me. And all of these people, like you said, it all depends on what exposure they've had. And what I loved when you and I were having the conversation before we started the class discussion today was, that sometimes you just got to look at your stress factors. And when you look at those stress factors, it's amazing how the body will stop and say, okay, now we can heal. So a final word before we go, Dr. Saupe, for people that are living
Don't
and thriving.
forget to make a pause in between all your activities. I'm privileged because I see highly motivated, very intelligent and dedicated patients that come from all over the world to this little village, Bad Emstal, in the center of Germany, close to Frankfurt. And I'm really privileged to see so many highly motivated patients. And sometimes I have to tell them, you need to make a pause. You need to lean back a little bit and let healing happen. And I tell them, you know what? Healing happens in between the treatments. And don't forget to give thanks for the grace that you receive that is outside your control. And so I give them a very dear quotation that is more than 1,000 years old from a monk who once said, ora et labora, pray and work. So there is time for work, and we work intensively here, but don't forget to pray.
Awesome. And when we pray, we need to stop and expect the answer. And the answer, however God will heal us, is just the answer as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Saupe. Once again, the book is Holistic Care Cancer Medicine. You can text me or email me if you want to put your name in the winner's basket. A week from today, we will pick the winner from the winner's basket. Also, I want to encourage you that if you want a consult with Dr. Henning, to email me at lily@whenyouneedafriend.com again, or text me at 407-373-5959, and I will make sure that you have an opportunity to meet with Dr. Saupe for 45 minutes instead of 30. So that's a big deal. 15 minutes can make a big difference. So thank you so much for your generosity, Dr. Saupe. I'm looking forward to more conversations with you in the classroom.
Thank you so much, Lillian. Thank you to our audience for your interest.
And please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott and Dr. Henning Saupe, wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. That's the best ever from Germany, I'm telling you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lillian.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.